the toxic alliance between bro culture and pornography. It's harming our kids. I'm Dr. Chris Samuels, and I'm a psychologist who's spent more than 30 years specializing in treating sex and porn addiction, sexual trauma, and betrayal trauma. And I need to be blunt with you about something we can no longer afford to handle delicately. We're in a crisis, and we can't keep looking the other way because our girls are in serious trouble. Our boys are struggling too. And frankly, we're at the moment when we need to do something about it. This isn't just another trendy topic for academic discussion. This is urgent. We're raising an entire generation in a pornographied world where violent, degrading sexual scripts have become the default blueprint for intimacy. The average age of first exposure to pornography is now 11 years old. 11. We're talking about children who haven't even hit puberty, being introduced to sexuality through content designed to shock and degrade. Here's the reality every parent needs to understand. Today's pornography bears no resemblance to previous generations. What we once called vanilla or mainstream porn, depicting relatively gentle, consensual sexual activity, has virtually disappeared from popular pornography sites. What was once considered hardcore, extreme, or fetish content has now become the mainstream standard that children encounter on their first exposure. A comprehensive analysis found that 88% of pornography scenes contained physical aggression, with 94% showing women as targets. Even more disturbing, 96% of those scenes show women expressing pleasure when being aggressed against. Acts that required extensive discussion, preparation, and consent in healthy adult relationships just 2 decades ago. Choking, slapping, aggressive anal sex, degrading verbal abuse are now presented as routine expectations in the majority of pornographic content. The pornography industry has systematically escalated content to maintain viewer engagement, meaning that what children see today as normal sexuality would have been considered extreme and potentially criminal in previous generations. Our children are learning that choking during sex is standard practice, that women should endure pain for male pleasure, and that female comfort is optional. We're allowing a profit-driven industry that makes billions from depicting abuse to shape our children's understanding of intimacy and love. Social media amplifies this toxic messaging. Platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat aren't just sharing content. They're building communities that celebrate dominance and submission. Research shows that when accounts were set up to represent teenage boys, they received a 4-fold increase in misogynistic content within 5 days. The algorithm is literally providing a curriculum in toxic masculinity. But here's what makes this crisis even more devastating. Bro culture. This hyper-masculine framework that celebrates dominance, emotional detachment, and the objectification of women as proof of manhood. This has become the driving force behind our cultural norms. Bro culture essentially functions as the social support network that transforms the aggression and entitlement boys see in pornography into their everyday identity and peer relationships. What once was confined to fraternity houses and locker rooms has now colonized social media platforms and mainstream entertainment, creating the perfect delivery system to amplify and normalize the very same values that form the primary focus of pornography: the sexual dominance of males and the sexual submission of females. Here's how pornography and bro culture intersect to create this toxic alliance. First, pornography serves as sex education for young people. For many boys, pornography becomes their primary source of information about sex and relationships. But this isn't education, it's distortion. They're learning harmful sexual scripts that are then perpetuated and celebrated within bro culture peer groups. Second, this normalizes sexual aggression. Research shows that exposure to pornography depicting aggression against women normalizes sexual violence. Bro culture creates an environment where these attitudes aren't just tolerated, they're encouraged. They're proof of masculinity. Third, it promotes devastating gender roles. Pornography reinforces the idea that women are submissive objects and men are dominant controllers. This aligns perfectly with bro culture's emphasis on dominance as masculinity, contributing to the complete dehumanization of women. Finally, there's social learning and reinforcement. Pornography teaches sexual scripts that guide behavior, and bro culture provides the social context where these scripts are reinforced among peers. It's a feedback loop of toxicity. Now, here's the damage that's happening to our children. Let me be specific about what I'm seeing clinically and what healthcare providers across the country are reporting. Our girls are learning devastating lessons. Teenage girls who believe it's normal for boys to choke them during sex, and who think something's wrong with them if they don't enjoy pain and fear. 15-year-olds who've learned that saying no makes them prudes, and that their comfort and pleasure are secondary to male satisfaction. Young women whose primary concern isn't the aggression they've experienced, but instead is whether they're bad at sex because they feel uncomfortable with practices they've been told are normal. Our boys are being harmed too. Many are either embracing this toxic version of masculinity and becoming emotionally and sexually abusive, or feeling ashamed and isolated because they don't want to treat girls this way, but have few cultural models for healthy masculinity. School counselors document boys breaking down because they feel something is wrong with them for wanting emotional connection with girlfriends. There's a broader cultural cost too. This isn't just affecting individual relationships, it's changing our entire culture. We're seeing persistently high rates of sexual assault on college campuses, despite increased education on consent. Why? Because consent education doesn't address the underlying belief that female pleasure and comfort are optional. We're seeing domestic violence starting earlier in relationships, abusive patterns in middle school that previously didn't emerge until adulthood. We have a mental health crisis where toxic masculinity and misogynistic social media content are significantly associated with increased rates of anxiety and depression. For clinicians, this connection is crucial. When you see teenage girls with depression, ask about their relationship experiences. When you see boys acting out or isolating, explore their beliefs about masculinity. What we're treating as individual mental health issues is often trauma from toxic cultural messaging about gender and sexuality. Mental health professionals report dramatic improvements when treatment addresses the cultural messaging that young people have internalized about gender roles and sexuality. Sometimes what looks like depression is actually sadness about having to hide who they really are. Well, there are solutions. And here's what gives me hope. Culture can change, but only if we actively work to change it. We've challenged drunk driving, smoking, and bullying. We've reduced teenage pregnancy by 70% in 3 decades through comprehensive education and cultural change. We can challenge this toxic alliance too. So parents, here's what you need to do. Start conversations early and keep them going. Don't wait for the talk. Begin age-appropriate discussions about respect, consent, and healthy relationships from elementary school age. Address pornography directly. Your children will encounter it. The question is whether you'll help them understand what they're seeing. Explain that pornography is designed to create arousal, not education about real sexuality. Help them understand that real sexuality involves communication, consent, mutual pleasure, and emotional connection, none of which are depicted in pornography. Model healthy relationships. Show your children what respectful partnership looks like. Let them witness disagreements being resolved with respect rather than dominance. Challenge the culture actively. When you see toxic messaging, name it. Don't let degrading comments slide in as, well, just joking. Help your children develop critical thinking skills to question what they're being told about gender and relationships. For our culture, we can do this. Amplify healthy voices. Support content creators and leaders who model respectful relationships. Share examples of people treating each other with genuine care and respect. Demand better media. Stop treating sexual aggression and female degradation as mere entertainment. Use your consumer power to support media that depicts healthy relationship. And create consequences. Make it clear that treating people as objects has social, professional, and personal costs. Here's what I need you to understand. Our current cultural norms aren't inevitable or unshakable. The question is simple. What kind of culture do we want to leave our children? Our girls deserve to grow up believing their comfort, pleasure, and autonomy matter. Our boys deserve to learn that real strength comes from building others up, not tearing them down. All of our children deserve to experience love as something that makes them feel safer, not less safe. The stakes couldn't be higher. We're not just talking about individual relationships. We're talking about the kind of society we're creating for our children. Are we going to raise a generation that sees love as conquest, sex as performance? Or are we going to teach them that real strength comes from lifting others up? That genuine connection requires vulnerability and respect. The culture we accept is the culture we create. It's time to create something better. The answer is up to all of us, and the time to act is now. Thank you. Now let's get to work.